We are good. Welcome back to the Uncommon Success Podcast, where my dad and I talk about our lives and the uncommon things that occur. Our hope with this podcast is really that the listeners leave feeling encouraged.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
We want them to feel encouraged.
Yeah. I mean, we're average people doing uncommon things, and I think people can learn from what we've learned.
Okay. I know that we touched a little bit in the past about education.
Not on the podcast.
Oh, we didn't?
In videos on our social media, but not on the podcast.
All right. Well,
that's a good place to start for
there.
this podcast.
All right.
What is your college education?
Yes, that's a good question. I've been to college. I've been to seminary. However, I was not there as a student.
That is correct.
I actually did graduate 13th in my class.
Your college class?
No, in high school.
In
high school, I graduated 13th, and that's not too bad, other than the fact that I went to a private school and there were only 13 kids in my class.
13th. You didn't even graduate.
I didn't.
You didn't even graduate.
No, I didn't. I did not even get a diploma.
Right.
I hated school. I did really bad in school. In fact, when I was I started a private Christian school, attending one in 11th grade, and there they do a reading assessment of all their students each year.
Yeah.
So when they did my reading assessment, I was reading at first grade level.
That's
and you think,
just
how could I make it
crazy.
through 10th grade in the public school system when you can't read?
That is so sad.
It is sad.
I think a lot of that has changed in today's society. Now that I'm a mom myself with 2 kids, they don't go to public school, they go to private school, but I have friends whose kids go to public school, and I will say I think that they have a much better grasp on the students learning how to read. They're very proactive about that.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I do think that students can read better because of social media.
Right?
I mean, they're always, texting and reading and
point.
writing and so on, whereas before, back in horse and buggy days.
Oh, please. Did your parents ever own a horse and buggy?
Yeah, and then I walked to school in the snow.
Wait. Uh-huh.
No, I'm not that old.
Right.
No. So that's we look at the education where you think we're being taught that you need to go to college to get a good job to be successful, and that just isn't true.
Yeah.
And there are some, especially pretty much government requires higher education.
Sure.
So if you want to work for the government, if you want to be a teacher,
Right.
I
don't know, but I know if you want to be
Doctor.
my doctor, you definitely should go to college. Thank you very much.
No, I changed my mind on that.
Oh,
I changed my mind.
what?
I actually think, and this is going to sound radical, but hear me out.
Oh, boy.
I don't think we need colleges. And
I would agree because a lot of things
Yeah.
are self-taught.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be a doctor, you study a doctor who's doing it, and then you learn that way.
You study under a doctor.
I mean, it's the same thing as college, except actually hands-on experience. I would agree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, you take any profession. Say you want to be a lawyer. Well, if you go and work at a law firm for free,
Right.
but you're
it's
not
called an internship.
An internship. You're not paying money. So at the end of the 4 years or 6 years or 8 years, you owe nothing. You're no debt.
Right.
You're debt free.
Yeah.
But rather than going to college and hearing theories,
Yes.
you are actually learning hands-on. I have a guy who's a professor at your Sinus College. He's a friend of mine.
Okay.
And he teaches economics.
Uh-huh.
And he said, yes, I laugh about that because I've never owned a business.
Right.
He's never owned a business, and he's teaching kids how to own a business.
Right.
So,
That's interesting because I go speak at a local high school every year for their business class.
Right.
And the teacher even says himself, he said, I love having people come in like you because you are actually in the real world doing what I'm teaching. Like, you own a business.
Yeah.
You help your dad with his businesses. You know more about businesses than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so right. A lot of the teachers today have not done the things that they're teaching.
I've never went to college, and I don't want to say this braggadociously. I want to say it so that people know that they can be where they can be successful.
Yes.
Okay, I'm successful by this world standard.
Yes.
That's not where I find joy,
Right.
but I am successful by this world standard. And I've never been to college. And I did horrible in high school. When I was in public school, the grade system was A, B, C, D, and F, and F means flunk. So I was happy to get a D, and I'm not kidding. I was happy to get a D. If you can't read, you can't do good in any subject.
Oh, absolutely.
You just can't.
Right.
So I was great in math. I don't know if I did this on a podcast or not, but I remember in math class, I was one of the best, and it was second grade, and his last name is Chrisman, Doug Chrisman. He was a friend of mine, and he was like the smart kid.
Yeah.
You know, he's like smart at everything. So we had this competition where in math, where half the kids got on one side of the room, the other on the other, and one by one you would go up and the teacher would ask a math question and you need to answer it. And so I kept beating everybody out, and they're like, wow, look at Peiffer go, he's really good, because I couldn't read, and they knew I couldn't read, and they thought I was just dumb at everything. All right, so it came down to Doug Chrisman and me. And the kids are like, whoa, I can't believe this dumb kid is actually against Doug Chrisman, the smartest kid in the class. And he won by like a tenth of a second. But he won. But it just goes to show that, what does that go to show?
That you don't need to read to do math.
There you go. And so I got like A's in math all the way up to middle school. And once we got into some of the math problems that required reading,
then you started going downhill.
I started going down, and the teacher, her name was Mrs. Colley, and she was a reading or English teacher, and she had me stay after one day, and she said, I don't understand. Here, you're getting really good grades all the way up until this year. Well, how come you're not doing good? And I mean, I was a kid, and I didn't know how to answer, and I probably didn't even put two to two together as the reason was. But eventually she said, oh, you know what? These are reading problems, and the other ones weren't. So. So anyway, I couldn't read until I didn't really learn to read well until I was in the 11th grade. I went to a private school, and the curriculum was all reading. You had to read it and help yourself. So I just want to encourage people. Look, I mean, you may be considered, the dumbest kid in your class, as I was. But especially when God is in it, you can succeed and do great things. You can do great things for God. You can do great things to help your family and your friends and your neighbors. And here we are, owning 3 businesses. And again, I mean, I don't want to. It's millions of dollars. And it's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
It's not, it's not really us either. We know that God is helping us because I'm too dumb to have done it without him. So, yeah.
So today on the podcast, I would like to talk about, you mentioned you have businesses. You've owned several other businesses in the past. And being a business owner, there are really tough decisions and tough moments. And I think it'd be really cool to talk about some of your past tough experiences, maybe current tough experiences, and then, looking ahead. So I know one of the businesses that I wouldn't say is a failure, but it didn't go as planned was a land development in Tennessee. You were looking to build a retirement community as phase 1. Phase 2 was a campground, I believe, and then phase 3 was a full-blown out amusement park similar to Disney World. So that didn't go as planned. I want you to talk about that and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, well, in going into it, I knew that I didn't know how to do it. And that's the thing. You need to be honest with yourself. I knew that I didn't know how to do it because there isn't, other than Disney, there wasn't anything around similar to what I wanted to do.
And this is years ago. This is what, like 30?
2000.
Okay.
2000.
Not 2,000 years ago, but yeah.
So
the year 2000.
It was
so
1999
almost
when I felt the desire to build a resort that was wholesome, family oriented, and top notch, first class. Everything's clean, well manicured. With cartoon characters, different venues that had different themes and so on. And I spent a couple of years, several years working on it. We developed 9 different venues within the resort, over 20 cartoon characters.
You actually worked with a local cartoonist who designed and sketched them out for you.
Yeah, and he also sketched one of a book, a mini book. I forget what he called it, but it's like a book that with a storyline and everything.
For your characters.
For the characters in the one venue, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you went pretty far with this.
We did.
Uh-huh.
And so, not knowing...
How do you start something like that, right?
That was 24 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, do you get the money first?
Right.
Do you buy the land first? Do you put together the concept with the cartoon characters and all the rest first? What do you do first? And I didn't know.
Sure.
So I started by, first I narrowed down where in the country I wanted it to be. I looked at the population pool, the train, and that kind of thing. I would like it to be within 24 hours driving time of more than half the population in the country, and different things like that I looked at.
Okay.
So I identified where I wanted it geographically in the country. Then I went and found land. Mm-hmm. Then I went to individuals who are my friends and shared with them what I want to do and asked them to be investors. Mm-hmm. And I only got $600,000 worth of investors, which is not...
That's a lot. Like 24 years ago, that's a lot.
For just start... Oh, yeah, and 24 years ago. Yeah. And just starting out, not knowing what I was doing.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's not as though I owned the land and I said, now I need investors to help develop it. It's like, no, I didn't even own the land. I had nothing. If I went now to do it, I really think I would get a lot further with it.
We have a lot of experience. Just the last 4 years in business, we've learned a lot. Yeah. So I would agree. You could probably do it and pull it off.
So I wasn't able to get enough investors, and the land, it was actually, I had an option. I bought 40 acres, and there was a total of 12,000 acres.
Okay. 40 acres. That sounds like a lot, but look at what we have now.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going with you to said location as a kid and feeling like you owned the world, or at least a sliver of it. Like, oh my goodness, exploring it. There were sinkholes, and we were talking about putting roller coasters down in a sinkhole into a cave. And I just remember feeling like, whoa, you own so much land. But now, like, our one farm is what, 70?
95 is the big one, and this one's 70.
This one is 70. I didn't know if it was 71.
And then the other property is 8.5 acres.
I mean, so 40 is not that big, but you had option to buy land contiguous to that 40 acres. And so you actually had a house built out there.
Well, the reason I bought 40 first is because I was going to build a retirement community, because a lot of my friends who lived in the area where I live said that they thought this was an awesome idea, and they would buy a house in the retirement community, and they would volunteer to help build the first phase of the resort, and they would help. They said whatever, gardening, landscaping, painting, contracting. We had lawyers. I mean, all kinds of people who wanted to help. Yeah. And it's like I could see it happening. And I know this could happen, but I just didn't have the financing to do it at that time. Yeah. And it needed to happen faster than what I did it, because I was paying interest to the investors. And so once I was not able to get enough investment, my option on 12,000 acres ran out. I only owned 40 acres. Okay. And with a house on it and a garage. And so I ended up selling that, paying the investors back.
And it took years to pay the investors back.
Well, 2 of them I wasn't able to pay back right away.
Yeah.
But I eventually paid them back. And the one couple, they were so... both of them were very nice. It's like they understood. It's like, I'm going to pay you back no matter what. I'm going to pay you back. Yeah. And they really appreciated the fact that I paid them back, because they knew that I could have just written it off.
Oh, sure.
They weren't going to sue me.
That's not how you are, though.
That's not how I roll, no. I'll pay back no matter what it cost.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a neat experience, but I actually haven't given up on it. I mean, I'm still excited about it. Would love to see it happen.
Oh, man. Can you imagine? I love interior design. Can you imagine, like, being the interior designer of hotels and cottages?
Tiny town.
That's
one of the coolest ones. That was the first one I came up with.
There's multiple different places that guests would be able to stay if this actually happened. Yeah. Tiny town is one of the areas they could stay.
And the characters are the Hebes.
The
heebies.
heebies.
Yeah, and they give you the heebie-jeebies. But the heebies, you have a weebie is the baby.
Okay.
Wee weebie. And then they all have names.
Wee weebie.
I actually don't remember off the time what they are.
Wow.
But, oh, my heebie-jeebies is their main saying.
I remember as a kid growing up, we were never allowed to say, oh my God, or oh my gosh.
Right.
And I raise my kids the same way.
Right.
And I remember you telling me one time, you can say, oh my heebie-jeebies. And so that like stuck with me. And some of my friends heard me saying that.
I remember that, yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in Tiny Town, there's 3 parts to it.
Okay.
You have the big house, and that's like, it's 3 times scale.
Okay.
That means it's 3 times higher, 3 times wider, and 3 times deeper
than a normal average house.
Than an average house.
Yes.
Which means it's really 27, the equivalent of 27 houses.
Okay.
Because there's 3 houses this way, 3 more that way.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
3, 6, 9, 3 level.
Sure.
Okay. So it's huge. And the idea in the big house is you feel small.
Right.
So you'll have different rooms. Like the one room would be a game room, and that would be the dining. And so the dining room tables would actually be like, some of them would be under the pool table.
Right.
Because the pool table would be that high.
And I envisioned this big open room with a balcony all the way around looking down.
Yeah. And the one wall would have a marble run. But the marbles would be
like a bowling ball.
It would be like a bowling ball.
Yeah.
And they would go boom, 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 and they'd roll down there, and then there would be a chain to pick them up there, and it'd keep going, and that'd be a continual thing. So just things like that. The refrigerator in the kitchen, would be like huge kind of thing. You could actually sit in the kitchen in the refrigerator to eat your meal. Just things like that. And then the living room would be really a theater room because the TV would be huge.
Yeah.
And then with the couches, you would actually have to walk up steps to get onto the couch. So the family could sit together on one cushion.
Right. I love it.
So that would be cool. And so that's the big house. In the big house, it makes you feel small.
Right.
But in the lodging,
town,
where you lodge in town, you feel big.
Yes.
So it would be like, take a housing development that has roads going through it. But they're small, and so we would have golf carts that look like cars, and you can buy them, and they would have a garage. You could park them in the garage, but then you have a small house.
Yep.
And so
it's a 1-story home, but it looks like a 2-story
exactly.
home.
Exactly.
Yes.
It looks like 2 stories, but it's 1. So inside, everything's small. And within reason,
of course,
but like we'd have a king size bed, except that we turned sideways, so you would have to go not from the headboard to the feet, but long ways, or else you wouldn't fit on it, kind of thing. But things like that, and
optical illusions, to make you feel small, or big, make you feel big. Like the mirrors would be small, compared to what a normal mirror would be. It's all about the experience and making the guests enjoy their time there. Yeah. So it didn't happen.
Not yet.
And how, like, when did you reach the point where you knew you had to give up?
Well, I think when the land, when the option on the land ran out, and I didn't have any more investment available. And so I felt the right thing to do was to sell what I've developed so far, and I increased the value by a whole bunch. Right. And then just paid back everybody, like I say, all except 2, and then I slowly paid them back and did do that. Yeah. So when the option on the land ran out and the funds were no longer there. Yeah. Yeah. But it's kind of thing, again, I learned a lot in 24 years. We've had a lot of businesses since then. Yeah. A lot of life experience. Yeah. And I think it could be. And one thing that I did that I hurt myself is that I was guaranteeing a 10% return annually. So I'm paying interest out, but no income coming in. Yeah. The next time I do it, it would be shares. It would be shares. I love it. The next time. I love it. Yeah. So, and if I can generate enough revenue to buy the land in cash, then the investors can just simply know that it's going to succeed at that point. So, I mean, you talk so confidently about this happening again, like. Well, we've talked about this. You have to talk things into reality.
Absolutely.
So we need to be convinced ourselves that what we are trying to strive can really happen. And I think of the resort for me is that first I needed the vision.
Yeah.
It's like I felt like this was a good idea. I knew we could do this. And you know, I just was so excited once I got the vision. The more I thought about it, the vision kept developing and developing and developing in my mind. It's like until it was almost complete.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can see it in my mind now as to what it would look like.
Sure.
And that gets me excited. And once you get excited about something, you then can share that vision and that excitement with other people, and they can catch the same vision.
Yeah.
For example, for me, and I don't know if I should go this far in it, but when Walt created Disney World,
Right.
his thought was that it would be wholesome, family-oriented, where moms and dads can take their children for a wholesome, fun experience.
Right.
That's first class, top-notch. Well, now, Disney...
Here we go.
Okay, well...
You're not hiding your opinions.
Walt smoked.
I didn't know that.
But he never smoked in front of people.
Huh.
Or while in Disney where people could see him.
Okay.
He said, I want it to be smoke-free, alcohol-free. And now you look at Disney and you have what's called Pleasure Island. It's nothing but a bunch of bars. And then every venue within the resort sells alcohol.
Yep.
I remember when I took our family years back, you
ago,
and Brandon were quite smaller, and we went to a picnic. It was just a picnic. It was the campground. They had a picnic where some of the cartoon characters came.
Yeah, Pavilion was there. Yeah,
it was in the pavilion, and it was great, the picnic, and we had a good time. And then all of a sudden, there was something, I don't remember what triggered it, but people were drinking, and people just started getting out of hand.
Really?
I mean, they just started talking loud. The one guy was dancing on the table.
I do not
And I said,
remember that.
Dear, I think it's time to go.
Huh.
I mean, even a picnic at a campground, alcohol took over in a bad way.
Yeah.
And so I say, let's have a resort.
Yeah.
Clean, top-notch, first class, the best of the best. It doesn't need to be the biggest. I like it to be the biggest, but it may not be the biggest. And but the baddest and the best and so on.
The baddest, you don't want to put that in there.
The baddest in a good way. I mean, you're bad, man. You're good,
okey-dokey.
bad. Okay, we shouldn't do that. Okay. So that's that. I got excited about.
I was listening to a podcast last week, which I do a lot of self-development, and the one thing they talked about is exactly what you're sharing. You need to have a vision for something, and you don't need to know the how it's going to happen, but you need to know the what. Like, what is it that you want to happen? Then you figure out the how. The how falls into place. You start having conversations with people about your vision for whatever it might be. Those people might have connections who have connections. And if you're a Christian or believer in the Lord like we are, like, he also brings things right in front of you and makes the pieces fall into place.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's really encouraging for people to hear your story of how you attempted to open up a resort. That's a huge undertaking for somebody who's never had any experience. And then looking at the last 23, 24 years since then, the businesses that you've had. So you've owned an ice cream parlor and a restaurant / diner. I mean, that's the food industry. So that's like one puzzle piece to owning a resort. And since then, we've had multiple corn mazes, and we have one now, the biggest, best fall festival corn maze that we've ever had, and it continues to grow. So that's like the entertainment industry.
I owned an apparel company.
An apparel company, T-shirt, all of the merch that's involved.
If we did the resort now, we know a lot more now than we did then.
Absolutely.
So we're being prepared to do it if that's what
we're prepared for something. I don't know what. I mean, here we are on a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Well, and some people would think that, that I failed in that attempt to build a resort.
Yeah.
But you didn't fail. You just learned from it.
No. In my opinion, failure is giving up.
Yeah.
I mean, something might not happen the way or the when you plan.
Right.
But if you give up, I mean, that's failure.
Failure isn't final.
Exactly.
We all make mistakes and we all mess up. And if we give up every time we fail, I mean, we wouldn't do anything.
Absolutely. The most successful people are known for their successes, not their failures. Yeah. I mean, they failed so many times, no matter what they were attempting.
That's right.
And you only hear about the successes normally.
That's right.
And that's what we want to kind of change. We want to tell people, hey, we tried this. Hey, we've done this. this was our struggle. This was the hurdle we had to overcome, or this is what didn't work, and we learned from it.
Yeah. The apparel company is one of the companies that most people would think failed as well.
Okay.
And we were selling, it was Christian T-shirts and sweatshirts, and we had an account in Sam's Club.
Right.
And we were in Sam's Clubs on the East Coast. And 2 of the Sam's Clubs are managed by Jewish people.
Okay.
And the managers of those 2 conversed with each other and said that we find this merchandise to be offensive.
Right.
Because they don't believe Jesus is the Messiah, like the Savior of the world. And so the Sam's Club called me and said, we're pulling your product. 2 of the managers found your merchandise to be offensive. And so it's like, at that point, I had invested tens of thousands of dollars.
You had just bought a huge box truck.
A truck to make all the deliveries, all the racks to make them. Yeah. We had UPC codes on, and all the product was going through. Oh, wow.
I didn't realize you had the codes.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, that makes sense.
Through their cash registers.
So weird. Yeah. You know, this is a really crazy thing. Okay, so we own an infrared heater company, and there's barcodes on them. Yeah. Do the stores actually scan the barcodes?
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, I didn't know this till right now. I'm how many years old, and we've had this business how many years?
If you buy an infrared heater at an Ace Hardware store, they will scan our
I mean,
UPC,
that makes sense. I just never thought about that, and I'm like, wait. Like, I've never done that before, like, dealt with creating a code.
Yeah. Yep.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, failure isn't final.
That's right.
And you don't need to be incredibly smart by this world standards to be successful.
Right.
If a dummy like me can do great things, then a dummy like you can do great things too.
That rhymed. That was pretty solid. I don't think I can wrap this up any better way, even though calling yourself a dummy is not the best self-talk. But
should I wrap it up with my favorite saying in all the world?
What is your favorite saying?
My favorite saying in all the world. I have a bunch of sayings.
Yeah, you do. I'm really excited to hear this.
He who knows not and knows not that he knows not is a fool. But he who knows not and knows that he knows not is a wise man. So he who knows not, well, compared to God, we're all dumb. We're just all dumb. But he knows not that he knows not. Meaning he's dumb. He doesn't know that he's dumb.
Yep.
He's really dumb.
Yeah.
But he who knows not, which is all of us,
right? We know
and
we don't know
knows that he knows not,
exactly,
is a wise man.
There you go. Words of wisdom from Dad Peiffer. Hey, before we close, I love your outfit. What's up with your hat and the flower?
Hey, I didn't wear my other shirt.
You didn't.
Okay. Oh, darn.
You probably did the first half of this podcast and took it off. So we're in a room that's not air conditioned, and the camera overheated.
The camera overheated. We had to take a break and come back.
And I'm wearing the same outfit as last week because I am on vacation this week when this podcast airs. So we had to pre-record this
there
podcast.
You go.
But thank you so much for your support and for listening to us. And we're just so excited to see where this podcast goes. We have a lot in store. Yep. So we will talk with you next week.
Be a dummy like us and succeed.
I'm not a dummy.